Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is on a Riverscape Series. The session is titled Vadodara (No) Riverfront on Vishwamitri River. In the past, we have also had Riverscape Series with ICOMOS India, where we had 6 sessions talking about different aspects of riverfront. We'll talk about more on the Riverscape. Let me just first introduce Wednesdays for Water. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions people are working upon and are seeking for. Since Wednesdays for Water has become a kind of a signature series for W4W, people also often think that W4W stands for Wednesdays for Water. It does, but W4W stands for many more things, including V for Water, Worry for Water, Work for Water, Wisdom for Water, Walk for Water, Wheels for Water, many more things. And that all put together, I think V for Water stands much more inclusive, where Wednesday is one of them. With Wednesdays for Water expanded to many things, we had actually moved on to make Friday Water's Thesis Club, Water Arts, Water Reading Club, and Water Talkies in the Friday Water sessions. And we also have Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, besides organizing on-site water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. At W4W, we strongly believe water conversation is the only way towards water conservation. Do visit our website, www.w4w.in, for more details. My name is Mansi Bal Bhargav from the House of W4W, and I am going to actually invite Dr. Neha Sarwate, who is going to be the host of the session, to take up the discussion on Riverscape Series. So we actually started the Riverscape Series in September, when we are now going to focus on the riverfront development projects across the country. We started with Pune riverfront development, and now this week we are having Vadodara, no riverfront development, and we are also already planning for Ahmedabad, Jammu and Kashmir, Nagpur, and if you know some more, we are very happy to take them in. Let me invite Dr. Neha Sarwate, who is an environmental and urban planner, academician, and advocate for river systems, to take charge of the session. And welcome back, Neha, again to Wednesdays for Water. And may I request you to now take up the responsibility of the entire session and also introduce our wonderful speakers of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you and welcome, everybody. We are going to have a small panel discussion and small presentations. I'd like to introduce the speakers, Dr. Jitendra Gavali, Dr. Ranjinsinh Devkar, and Dr. Shishir Raval. Our first speaker is going to be Dr. Jitendra Gavali. He's a botanist by specialization, and he specializes in greenbelt designing. He was also the former director for Community Science Center, Baroda, an active member of the Concerned Citizens of Vadodara, and also a committee member of the Gujarat State Human Rights Commission that has been constituted for the rejuvenation of Vishwamitri River in Gujarat. So without any this thing, I'd like to invite him. But before that, I would like to, set the stage to introduce the Vishwamitri River, and just to understand what the process was with the entire movement of the Concerned Citizens of Vadodara. And I'll just share my screen and I'll give a small overview. Okay, is the screen visible?
Yes.
So in 2014, Baroda received its project, by the name of the Vishwamitri Riverfront Development Project. And it had a certain design criteria, very similar to that of the Sabarmati model. And we were a few academicians, citizens, and a group of expertise or concerned citizens from multiple walks of life, and we got together and critiqued the riverfront development, and we had a case also. So this is just an overview of what the river is and what was proposed. The riparian vegetation and the green was perceived as, an obstacle to the flow of the river. And we critiqued the river across 5 domains. One was approach and consideration, the approach to the project, how the river flow and infrastructure was going to be designed. And there was a confusion between what a river is and what a channel is. So these are our critique points. I'm not going to read out the entire thing. I think the speakers will talk about it. The entire design and development of the stretch of the river within the city of Vadodara, it ignored the river morphology, and it proposed the embankments and the retaining wall or the diaphragm wall across along the length of the river. It also did not consider or factor in the ecosystem health and wildlife, which is an important USP of the river in Baroda, and the community preference and social concerns were also overlooked by that proposal. And these were the critiques that we had given. Then we also put together, this is a timeline of our struggle or movement, as we call it, from 2014 until now, where the NGT case was filed. There was a lot of communication, by the community, different members of community from different walks of life. And there was a withdrawal of the project. I mean, this can be seen, this timeline can be seen in the paper in Water Alternatives. The link is over here, and I'll put it in the chat as well. So this has been a systematic process of over 11 years, 10 to 11 years, where the NGT final order was made in 2021 that called for the rejuvenation of the river and the process ahead. So without any, further delay, I invite Dr. Jitendra Gavali to please start his presentation.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you, WOW, for having this program with us. Thank you, Mansi, for inviting us. I will start with the small slide, few slides I have, and that I would like to show. First, I will start with the vegetation, a critical link between wetland biodiversity. Of course, vegetation itself is a part of biodiversity, but then it forms or support various faunal forms, wherein it plays very key role, and then it takes care of the ecosystem, or rather it forms the ecology of the area. And of course, as we are concerned with the river that is flowing from our city, so I have just narrowed down it to the microclimate of urban areas are being maintained by this biodiversity or wetland and vegetation. So vegetation plays very important role. We do understand how cemented surfaces have given rise to the heat island. Our cities are no more cities, just normal cities. They are heat island. Next, please. So our river, if you see, there are 4 types of river based on their formation. One is glacial origin, another one is spring or groundwater, underground water origin. Then lake origin river is Debar. Again, I am putting only one case of Sabarmati, which is a major river in Gujarat. Debar Lake is in Rajasthan, and it originates from the lake. And then rest of the river, majority of the Indian rivers, those are flowing into the plain, are rain fed in their origin. So rivers that are primarily fed by the rain or rainfall is the origin of those river, and they are being nourished and maintained by the forest. So if you see the mountain ranges, that is central India, if you see Aravali, Sabi river is the example. Vindhya has several river, those are ultimately meeting to the Yamuna like Chambal, Betwa, Ken, Dasan. And then of course Mahisagar or Mahi river is also origin of the Vindhya, that again coming into the Gujarat. Satpura is another range, is just, we know that Narmada is being dividing between, say, fault line between Vindhya and Satpura. Satpura is further older in origin. If you see the formation of mountain, it's very interesting story that tells that Aravalli is the oldest mountain, then came this Satpura, and then Vindhya formed. So in within Deccan Plateau also, the difference between these two mountain ranges is clear. So Satpura, we have Tapi, again coming into the Gujarat, flowing westward. Similarly, Narmada, which is again originated from the eastern Satpura ranges, that is Michael ranges at Amarkantak. And in case of our interest, that is Pavagad Hill, again formed during this Satpura ranges formation. It's a volcanic eruption, and from there we get Vishwamitri. Similarly, in case of Sahyadri, major two rivers, that is Godavari and Krishna. But these rivers are all fed by the rain, but then maintained by the forest that they have. If we see what are the factors influencing river flow is precipitation, then tributaries. Many times what happens is along the length of the river, it may get slow down or dry up. But then there is some forest and hill and then tributary that gets into it, and again the flow further goes into the main kind of river body. So similarly, precipitation, tributaries, and then groundwater in another factor which affect the river flow. Next, please. We have like characteristic of rain-fed rivers. So those characteristics almost I have spoken about. They are fluctuating all the time. They experience fluctuations in their water flow. They have very little or even no water during summers. So some of them are ephemeral in their nature. Uh, Most of them are ephemeral in nature, but at times rain-fed rivers are also, because of the forest and vegetation, they can be perennial in their nature. And they of course dry up, not all, but some of them dry up in summer. And their source of origin again in rainfall, as we know, but then forests are the things there. Next, please. If we see the diagrammatic section of Vishwamitri River, this is highly diagrammatic. It is not at all proportionate thing. But then in case of any river which is having such type of origin from the hills to the sea, we can divide it into three parts or areas. Area one will have the forest ecosystem, forest uh, vegetation, which is mostly hilly vegetation, and they are either dry deciduous forest or moist deciduous forest, divided as per the dominance of the species, tree species over there. Then comes mainland, wherein river will have all kind of major diversity. Biodiversity will be more in this that area, and with the agriculture, with our residential areas and urban areas, town and villages and cities are coming into that. And then when it meets or towards its river mouth, we have the coastal area wherein it meets to the sea. So area one will be medium in size, area 2 will be very larger, and area 3 is very short, wherein river forms the delta and meets into the sea. But not all rivers end up into the sea. Some of the river in the world they meet into bigger lakes also. So over there also the delta formation is there. So either they will get into salt water or they will be continuing in the fresh water as a big lake. Next, please. So this is the kind of vertical section, and then next slide is about the uh, perpendicular section of the river. If you see the riparian vegetation, that plays a major role over here. We are to advocate that how the riparian vegetation is important, because it has the all sorts of vegetation that adapts pertaining to the water availability into the soil or banks. So if you see, zone A will have the plants which are emergent plant, which can tolerate substantially water availability. Even they can grow into the mud or within water body also, on the edges they grow as a emergent. So these plants are very important because they are at the interface of water and soil. Then comes the bank vegetation or zone B vegetation, which is again a different kind of vegetation which can grow preferably near water, but then they cannot be grown away from the water. Similarly, they cannot be very close to the water proximity. So this is the vegetation that provides various habitat to the riparian faunal forms. And then comes zone C, which is having nearby, say, plane of the river plain or flood plain area, they mark by this zone C vegetation, which will be having availability of the water into the season, but there are like luxuriant growth of the trees over there. So riparian section or riparian vegetation supports nutrient cycling. They forms the resilient system. They also support native biodiversity and they act as a purifier for the air and water. Next, please. Then the same section, riparian section, if you see on the left hand side, the cross section shows where the water is there, like in the horizontal section or perpendicular section of the river. On the both the bank, we have vegetation, and then in the center there is a river. If you see what is there below river, after mud there will be pebbles, and then slowly it will be having boulders, and then bigger rocks, and then the basal rock. Those are there. Now on the right side, if you see what these riverfront, cemented riverfront does with such type of beautiful riparian ecosystem, which is otherwise providing support and nutrient cycling and support biodiversity, and they act as a purifier, air purifier, holding more water. They act as a resilient to the flood and all. What we are doing with the calculative kind of thing of ours and approach to the riverfront that we have. Actually, we most of the rivers have been straightened up when they are flowing from the cities, and those straightened up rivers are been desilted. They are having the measured cross sections, and then they have concretized wall all along the banks, and then those wall get straight down to the basal rock. So this is very dangerous, wherein we are not allowing any exchange of the water, which is otherwise happening since thousands of years, since the formation of the river. So we are actually attacking that natural ecosystem. Similarly, next slide shows the same thing: riparian bank versus cemented or riverfront bank, and how the river will turn into a canal if they are allowed to have such type of cemented riverfront. Next, please. So this slide is just the photographic presentation of present day Sabarmati River, and below is the photograph from the Vishwamitri River. So at present, Vishwamitri is flowing like this, and we have quite a good uh, diverse biodiversity or dense population of the vegetation and other birds and insects, and they were to make like this, to which concerned citizen have challenged the result. Thank you very much. So we have to decide upon what and what exactly we want, what type of bank we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Jitendra, for this input. I'd like to welcome Professor Dr Ranjinsinh Devkar. He's a zoologist, and he's currently with the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Vadodara. He's been invited in multiple committees. He's also a part of the Concerned Citizens of Vadodara and a committee member of the Gujarat State Human Rights Commission. And he's been invited as experts for multiple purposes, especially the crocodile counts and various faunal species, various matters related to the faunal species. And without any delay, I'd like to invite him to please contribute. Welcome, Doctor.
Yeah, hi, good evening, one and all. Namaskar. Thank you very much for the invitation, Mansi. And yes, it is always a pleasure to talk about something that is very close to the heart, and that is about the environment, its protection, and what are the causes, what are the factors that are affecting the environmental health, which is more of a concern. And of late, there is some if I may be permitted to be a bit cynical, some pseudo concerns have been raised by people which are not true concerns, and that will lead to a scenario where the understanding of the ecosystem becomes poor, and because of that, a lot of wrong decisions are taken when it comes to the protection of the environment. Talking about Vishwamitri, can we have the first slide? Yeah. Talking about the Vishwamitri, already Dr. Jitendra has set the tone and has made my task simpler. The river by itself will have multiple sub channels or off channels on the lateral sides. Now, as you can see here from the top view and the lateral view, there will be a small puddle kind of a thing, which I will call as a seasonal wetland or a seasonal lake that will be formed as a result of overflow of the Vishwamitri River. As the water of the flood recedes, this particular lake will be thriving and it becomes an integral part of the Vishwamitri riverine ecosystem. So when we talk about river per se, it should not be the river itself, but it should be it should also include the adjoining areas which are very much a part of the Vishwamitri riverine ecosystem. Also, Vishwamitri River has got multiple stormwater channels which are called traditionally as the CAS. So the CAS network which was there over the years has got disrupted. Can we have the next slides? One more. Yeah. So this is a very simple diagrammatic representation of how the intrusion takes place into the riverine ecosystem. What I'm trying to show over here is that one wetland, the seasonal pond, which was very much an integral part of the Vishwamitri riverine ecosystem, has been encroached upon, and the cause that will be given, or the reason that will be given over here, is that the river has been kept intact and the flow of the river has not been disturbed. There will be a marginal reduction in the overall carrying capacity of the river, but at the same time, the adjacent areas, which are so much an integral part of the river, are encroached upon. Also, some of the places in Vishwamitri, next please. Also, some of the places in the Vishwamitri River, there are floodplains. Now, as you can see, you can just put one by one. As you can see, the fishes occupy the water. The amphibious habitat are occupied by the frogs and the reptiles, the turtles, the crocodiles, the snakes, and there is a whole lot of biodiversity which is thriving in the Vishwamitri riverine ecosystem. Here, I would like to draw your attention to the story that the facts that were narrated by Dr. Gavali, that there is a beautiful floral health of the Vishwamitri River. But over a period of time, what happens is that the fauna slowly and gradually will be also getting impacted if the characteristics of the flora changes. Now, a change in the flora will eventually lead to a change in fauna, and if these are negative changes that are taking place, then it will be impacting the overall faunal diversity also. Vishwamitri has got strategic places where there are trees that inhabit heronries, where the heronry birds like the cattle egrets, ibises, occasionally painted storks are seen. Then there is the flapshell turtle, the freshwater turtle, Lysimus punctata, which is found in the Vishwamitri River. Several species of frogs have been documented, and there is a long list of various species of spiders, butterflies, and other insects that are there found in this area. So overall, what we need to understand is the management of the riparian ecosystem of any river, including the Vishwamitri River. My presentation is not only centered or not only referring to the urban stretch of Vishwamitri River, but is true, or it is applicable for the entire Vishwamitri riverine ecosystem, which later on Dr. Shishir Raval will be talking about. Next, please. So these are marked as 1, 2, and 3 to make my point of the Vishwamitri riverine ecosystem. That 1 is obviously the water where the fishes are there. 2 is an area which is shared by multiple organisms like the amphibians, the reptiles, and the birds. If the vegetation is minimal, then you will also be able to see the ground nesting birds like the lapwing, which will be making a nest in that area. 3 is a region where it is shared by other organisms. There are trees in this area. There will be tree inhabiting species. In both regions 2 and 3, you will be able to see a variety of snakes also. Now, the snakes include the species like the Russell's viper, because it is water body, so soft-scaled viper. You will also be, python has also been recorded. The Indian rock python has also been recorded from this area. And these all, 2 and 3 especially, will be forming the riparian habitat of Vishwamitri. In the corner, if you are able to see, is the Ratri Bazaar area, and on the upper right side also is there is a construction which is an evidence that we are intruding into the riparian region. The more the intrusion takes place, the lesser will the biodiversity become, and more will be the impact on biodiversity. And with a structure like a riverfront, the biodiversity will plummet down to zero. Next, please. Next one. Yeah. So Vishwamitri is actually a young river. If you see the riverine ecosystems, the much broader, bigger rivers like the Ganga or the Yamuna, Sabarmati also for that matter, they have got very big floodplains, whereas Vishwamitri is serpentine, meandering. And this meandering structure leads to formation of areas which are called as the Vishwamitri floodplains. Now, these floodplains, if they are encroached upon, as you can see in the picture on the right, that if the floodplains are encroached upon, here the river has been straightened and a floodplain has been left only to be encroached upon by the expanding townships and builder lobbies, so as to encroach into the riverine ecosystem. So whenever there is a flood, it is bound to be, it's quite likely that the water animals, the amphibious animals, will be intruding into the so-called newly developed townships. And that's why you see crocodiles walking on the streets of Vadodara. It's not very uncommon during the floods and post-floods. Next, please. So this is a photograph of Vishwamitri River before the ecosystem revival project was undertaken. This shows that there is debris dumping. Now, when this debris dumping case was taken up and a lot of meetings were held, we were asked a question that please suggest what is the scientific method for removal of debris. I scanned through the literature, and believe me, I could not find a single research paper which talks about specifically debris removal, because no one puts construction rubble waste and solid waste into a river. It's only done here. And so there is no scientific method. You just need to take it out. And the earlier the better, because slowly and gradually the river also tries to recover and to get over the damages that have taken place. So there will be a topsoil that will develop, it will cover over it, and there will be vegetation that starts growing onto it. So what the point I'm trying to make is that the riparian region, which you are able to see right now in this photograph, can actually be called as a neo-riparian region, because this is not older than about 20 years. And the construction waste and the debris dumping has been occurring for last several years, 40, 50 years. Next, please. So this photograph shows the dumping of construction waste. Next. This is what the ecosystem revival work, when it was initiated, lots of JCBs entering into the river, and this is how the cross section now looks like. Next. And what I want to tell at this point of time is that I am a zoologist, and let's believe that the river does multiple tasks like minimizing pollution, managing the sediments, doing nutrient trapping. It is it provides food cover for a variety of animals, diverse animals, and also the rivers are providing corridors for the movement of animals. It's about, if I remember correct, roughly 12 years ago, there was a leopard that had entered Baroda city, and it was thought to be using the dried channels of Vishwamitri River, and it was moving up and down till it was trapped, it was caught and released in the forest. So I have seen porcupines also using this channel, and formerly even the jackals and the foxes, they used to commonly use these channels in the night time. A lot of migratory birds also are using this as the stopovers. So the image that I am showing on the extreme right is, this is a natural river, and a natural contour can be beautiful. Why does human being does not try and understand that naturally created contours of a river are actually beautiful, and we don't need to structure it? Next, please. Well, coming to the most important point of my talk is about the crocodiles. Now, all said and done, the reason why a riverfront could not be made, or we stopped it, because we convinced the authorities that making a riverfront is not a good idea. And the reason is, you have a Schedule 1 species which is listed in the Wildlife Protection Act, called as the Crocodylus palustrus, or the mugger crocodile. As you can see here, the debris dumping on the left side has changed the slope of the banks. And crocodile, being a amphibious creature, it is a reptile, but it can live on land as well as in water, but it is cold-blooded. So it is mandatory for a crocodile to actually have, after having eaten sumptuous meal, to come on to land and to activate its enzymes by basking. Now, the basking will activate the enzymes and help in digestion. So a sumptuous meal will take several days, weeks, or even months for the crocodile to digest. Hence, it is mandatory for a crocodile to come and bask every evening, every morning, every afternoon, and especially the basking bouts increase during the winter season as the temperature dips. So if you're making, next minute. So if you make a riverfront, it is not a good idea, because the crocodile will not get a place to bask, because there will be a lot of people and the crocodile will not have the required privacy. Let us counter argue that even if we have spaces which will be absolutely private for the crocodiles, yet crocodile being a reptile, it requires adequate amount of land, soil, to dig a hole, a pit which is very deep. It can be as deep as 12 or 13 feet, so that the crocodile goes inside and makes a nest. This nest, eggs are laid inside the nest, and the nest is taken care of by the crocodile. It protects it during the entire season. Incubation is done by nature. So if you are tampering in any ways with the riparian or the embankments of the river, then the crocodile breeding cycle will be affected. Likewise, even the monitor lizard or the Bengal monitor, which is found over here, the turtles, which are found over here, they all will be using the banks for the nesting purposes. Next. What was proposed initially was a crocodile park, where they had said that, well, people can see the crocodiles, and the Vishwamitri River can as well flow from some other side, and the crocodiles can be trapped inside to form a crocodile park. Here, this will be an absolutely artificial habitat, which will not allow the crocodiles to have access to its natural environment. Hence, it will not be. It will have to be fed artificially. It is not currently. It is fetching its own food, so it will not be a good idea at all. Next. Next. Yeah. So this is how a den or burrow. Next, please. Den or burrow of a crocodile looks like. You can see the one which is there on the left side as well as on the right side. There are different types of dens. The one den you can see slightly on the higher side. The other one is at the water level. The one that is there on the water level is generally used for resting or hiding. The one that is slightly on the above, or even the one at the water level, both can be used for laying eggs. And there is a submerged den which is inside the water, which is used for ambush or sudden attack. So these all are important parts of the Vishwamitri riverine habitat. And believe me, Vishwamitri is by far the only river in Asia, and one of the very few, I guess the other one is listed in Mexico, just second in the world, where you have got a healthy breeding population of crocodiles. Hence, we could really make a strong case that a riverfront is not a good idea to be done with the Vishwamitri River. Next. So to sum it up, there are about 500 plus crocodiles which are currently being counted, and the conservative estimate is around 400, but some people claim that there can be even 600 crocodiles in the entire stretch of Vishwamitri River. There are about 10 species of frogs that have been listed, 3 species of turtles. Well, the soft shell, as I've already told you, is in the Schedule 1, and a lot of species of snakes are also there. And the Varanus or the Bengal monitor also belongs to the Schedule 1 species. So all these organisms, I mean, whatever list I have just now shown or spoken, literature is available in the form of scientific papers, which is available in the internet domain. So approximately 70 to 80 research papers in good scientific journals have been published over a period of last 20, 30 years on Vishwamitri, exclusively on Vishwamitri, as well as on rivers of central Gujarat or Gujarat, where the reference on Vishwamitri has been made. That is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Devkarji, for this discussion. It's a very much needed discussion where rivers are concerned, because the aspects of zoology and faunal species is rarely factored in, when riverfronts are spoken and discussed. Our next speaker is Dr. Shishir Raval. He is a landscape architect with expertise in ecological planning, restoration, and participatory design processes. He has been an academician and a practicing professional through SAS Energies, a firm that he has co-founded. His practice is informed by ecological sciences, environmental psychology, ethics, traditional contemporary scientific knowledge systems, and serendipity. He has taught in multiple locations, in multiple universities in India as well as the US. For example, the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, the NC State University at Raleigh, North Carolina, and the MS University in Baroda. He has been involved in at various levels and forums related to holistic revival of ecosystem and landscapes, especially the Vishwamitri River in Vadodara. Over to you, sir. Sir, you're on mute.
Good evening, everyone. In India, it is morning time here in the USA. I'm very happy to be part of this panel discussion. Can you see my slides?
No, sir. You'll have to share your screen.
Yeah, that's what I did, I think. Oh.
It went away again.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can. Okay, here it is. Just a second. I'm taking time because the first slide that showed up in the presentation is not my slide. It is not my revised slide, but that's okay. I will try to do it with the. Anyway, you can, Nevin, you can control the presentation. I'm not able to find, I mean, I have downloaded it, but it is not showing up in the, just a second. Let me try one last time. I'm sorry
Okay.
for the.
Meanwhile, I request all the participants to please share their comments and questions in the chat box.
Are you able to now see the presentation? I'm sorry for the ball.
No, sir, not yet.
Neha, actually, you may present now. Huh?
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Nevin, please take over because I'm just going to
Yeah.
read from my first slide, which
Okay.
is little bit different. I'm sorry for the delay. Hello, everyone. The slide begins with this quote: "Riverfronts are affronts to nature as well as to our sensibilities and common sense." The riverfronts are the way the human intervention that causes the kind of issues that my colleagues Dr. Gavali and Dr. Devkar have already presented from the biotic side point of view. There are always a better way to deal with and live with rivers. Citizen actions for and reflection on awareness activities, advocacy, and alternatives do matter. Next. So it is said that the planet Earth should have been named Planet Ocean, but the terrestrial part of planet Earth, as it is shown in this National Geographic beautiful map, is dominated by water bodies, especially rivers. These are all the different kinds of rivers that are part of our planet Earth. Next. Next. Okay. So that is also true for our own country. This map shows on the right-hand side the different kinds of sub-basins and basins that are dominantly part of India. So if you define countries or if you define political boundaries with ecological units, then what you get is on the left-hand side. This is how nature has created somewhat the boundaries, and on the right-hand side, on the map of India, you can see that it is also can be defined in a very beautiful watershed and sub-watershed manner. Next. So the stages on the surface part of the water cycle are very important because the forms and composition of the land, as you can see on the three slides that I've shown from the top, in the mountains, in the floodplains, and at the delta region, they are part of the water cycle. The terrestrial part of water cycle is governed by landforms. And we forget that landforms and the abiotic factors are the critical part that define biotic diversity part of any ecosystem. Next. So I'm taking a step back because a bigger picture is also very important. So riverfronts were not riverfronts the way human beings define now. Dr. Devkarji had a very nice illustration. Dr. Gavali also showed that. So traditionally or in the past, nature and then culture defined the edges of the water or of any river. So it was initially natural ecosystem adjoining the river bank, but later on farms and then settlements, then transits, rituals, the religious part, the ghats emerged. So those were the types. Later on, after the industrialization, water mills, industrial uses, greater industrial level of fishing, river ports, and some enlightened cities had parks along the river without the concrete boundary. So contemporary riverfronts, these examples that we see now emerging in India, are politically motivated and detached from watershed connections. They are just edges for urban people, not the riverfronts for the rivers. So the salient point of traditional traditional waterfronts or natural edges, or they respected natural edges and conditions, address cultural and economic needs, and not just for real estate and urban users. So that is one critical change that has happened in the modern times that many people in this audience already know about. Next. So here where it is. In India, Gujarat has a watershed emerging from Awagad Hill, and then it goes, just two illustrations to show how Awagad Hill begins to have several of the channels that then come together to form Vishwamitri River on the northwest and west side of Awagad, and Devdhadar watershed on the east and southeast part of the Awagad Hill. Next. So Vishwamitri Riverfront Development Project wouldn't have been at this stage of popularity and attention if some previous work was not there. And I'm just starting with 1998 because since then my involvement was there. In 1970s also, who were my teachers, they had also proposed certain things on the lines of the contemporary riverfront. But the involvement began with this particular study abroad program, my personal involvement, and the Vision Vishwamitri project that emerged since then. And then in 2009 and 10, Vaho Vishwamitri and soft advocacy for not doing the and for doing the right thing is important. That presentation that was made for Vision Vishwamitri was then adopted by Vaho Vishwamitri movement and soft advocacy. And 2014 onwards, actually, when the HCP proposal came out, citizen petition to the government, the illustration on the bottom right-hand side, and then the formation of concerned citizen of Vadodara. The hard advocacy is different from soft advocacy in the sense that hard advocacy uses legal tools for promoting the right thing for the river, for the ecosystems. Next. So Neha ji and Devkar ji and Jitendra ji have already talked about different kinds of things. This is just a shorter version. It is apparent that those who have seen the riverfronts, modern riverfronts in at least in India, there are examples in European countries too, wherever there is an urban center, people try to take advantage for the people. So ill-conceived, VRDP was, in my opinion, and opinion of many people who had worked together since 2014, is a top-down, bureaucratic, and costly alternative. It didn't even accommodate the amount of flood water that was coming from the upstream areas. And it said that some other measures will be necessary to control all the flood water that is calculated through scientific and technical methods. And this, as my colleagues have already demonstrated, they disregard the natural processes and pattern, they disregard social equity, and they do not want to look at the better precedents. So concerned citizen of Vadodara started to have intervention with the Vadodara Municipal Corporation. On the bottom two slides, bottom left two slides are the people formally and informally meeting together for forming our strategy to stop this nonsense. And then later on, some other groups like Voices of Vishwamitri and some other smaller groups also began to intervene and took interest in promoting the right thing and not allowing the proposal that was proposed by HCP. Next. So the characteristic of citizen participation was active participation of various groups, academia, think tanks, organizations. They all came together, so environmental activities, working with the state and the local authorities. There was willingness to go the extra miles. We wrote letters, petitions, we had meetings, we had site visits, we had presentations, media meets, legal actions, NGT, and there is more recently Gujarat state Human Rights Commission formation, and these are all the different kind of things. On the right-hand side, the green illustration is not visible, not discernible in terms of its detail, but the photograph next to it on the at the desk at the big table, we are together to formulate this particular alternative. So alternatives making is very important. Action for and reflection on awareness, advocacy, and alternatives is very critical for any kind of movement that is trying to address the top-down bureaucratic forceful attempt to make riverfronts in their cities. So this is applicable, this process is applicable and adaptable to other parts of India also. Next. So this particular model or this particular diagram tries to capture that whatever we do, the awareness, advocacy, and alternatives can take place at several different scales. We can do it the watershed and sub-watershed level, or we can do it site-specific level. But the ideal part would be to do it at the watershed and sub-watershed level, because that is how the ecosystem works. It comes from upstream to downstream. So each one has their own limitations. Awareness alone, they complement each other. Awareness through various means is very important, but it cannot affect the change that is required. Advocacy, soft and hard advocacy. Soft advocacy is working with the system. Hard advocacy is like working through the legal means that we have available because of our constitution, because of acts and laws that are in place. And our colleague Rohit Prajapati has done a tremendous job using this legal aspect of advocacy to do it. However, we know from our experience that even advocacy by itself cannot be the only answer, because people then ask, so what do we do? And that is where the alternatives come in. Alternatives provide a better way, an illustrated, scientifically conceived better way to the proposals of riverfront developments that are based on this concrete diaphragm walls and destroy the local ecosystem. Next. So finally, there are two slides for observations. These are mainly related to the natural system side. So river is, first and foremost, we have to recognize that river is an ecological unit. You see, this series that is started by W4W is called Riverscape Series. The Riverscape Series, the scape word is not understood properly. Scape etymologically in landscape or riverscape is not view. It is not the part that is kind of viewed as like beautifying things. That is what riverfront developments claim, that we are beautifying the lakes, we are beautifying the river edge and all that. Whereas the word etymologically, the word scape is about in partnership with. So it is not urban. It should not be urban initiative, human-centric initiative. It should be river-centric initiative, river-oriented front that we need to be concerned. I'm not saying that there cannot be any kind of edge where human beings cannot go, but that is like selected parts, very carefully chosen, where some kind of edge condition can be created where human beings can be part of it. But River Vishwamitri, as Dr. Devkar has explained and Dr. Gavali has explained, it is a very different kind of ecosystem. It has meanders unlike Sabarmati, unlike other rivers in Pune and other places. So river is an ecological unit, an interconnected system. And as you can read in the slide, there are ways to address that. So ecological planning and ecological restoration must be done at the watershed and sub-watershed level, because once you start at that level, that is when actually the ecosystem will start from upstream to downstream. So when we do not take into account the landforms and do the analysis of landforms, the development decisions are taken at site level arbitrarily without looking at the larger system. And that is where abiotic diversity gets affected. And therefore, the biotic diversity also gets affected. and riparian buffer zones with trails on the bottom two slides, and with information and educational signs along the trails. This is where this blue picture on the bottom right is taken from a trail nearby my home here in the US. So people's engagement with the river could be of a very different nature next. And for that, we need to redefine development. We need to engage people, especially children and youth, for critical and longer term success. We need to integrate activism, professional practice with research and local knowledge. That is very important. The starting point is civil engineering, not ecology. And that is why the answers are wrong. Civil engineering has a very little role to play if we are doing a river-centric planning. And as the process begins of people's participation in the documentation of the changes on the ground and the process of citizen intercession is very critical. We forget to do that, and it is important to remember that whoever in other parts of India is trying to address this issue, these are important lessons that we have learned from our experience, these concerned citizens of Vadodara who are doing this kind of work, and they are still engaged with it. Effective use of conventional and social media is vital. Nowadays, people have very short attention span. Nobody reads research papers. Even newspaper article is not read only up to the headlines. So social effective use of social media is becoming very critical. So is critical evaluation of what actions worked and which actions didn't work must be undertaken. We just move on in our activities, but we do not reflect back. And that is why the reflection part of that model of awareness, advocacy, and action is very important, and we must do that. So basically, in short, what we are saying is that riverfronts are going to be discussed and they are going to be imposed upon cities. However, if we want to make a change, we have to change the ways of saying, ways of doing things. And until we change that, no matter of gyan and advocacy or activism is likely to change the thing. And we need to be consistent with that. And therefore, the new generation of need to work with the older one and do the introspection and take the lead for taking newer actions for the better outcome than we have seen so far. Next, final slide. So just absorb these two different kinds of slides. Look at the magic that is going on every moment on this planet Earth. We are not just terrestrial ecosystem, we are the whole ecosphere. And the processes of nature are going on at the benthic organism levels at the bottom of rivers and lakes and wetlands to the atmospheric high clouds and the waves of the oceans and all that. This particular way of thinking that to put ourselves in the larger picture of where we are, and then combining that with technical knowledge that at the region level to the site level, how we can make a difference. But my recommendation would be to make a difference on ground in the name of rejuvenation or restoration must be done from starting with upper watershed and then going downward. That would be very ideal because that is how the water cycle that I showed in the beginning works. And finally, I'll leave you with this quote, and I'll not read it, but you read it, and then we conclude. My part is concluded, and then Neha ji can take over.
Thank you, sir, for this very wonderful presentation and insight. So I would like to, sum it up. This process has been a very multidisciplinary and multi-pronged process, which is little unique in nature, that we spoke on the basic sciences and applied sciences into the decision-making processes for plan making and policy making. So yes, we got the NGT order. There is efforts to rejuvenate, revive, restore the river in multiple ways. But still, the human interventions from the governance side and the civic society side, they keep continuing the way they have been working. There has been lack and lacuna in the way decisions are taken even till today. So having understood the structure of what a river is, understanding that each river ecosystem has its unique characteristics, unique features, and that is, it's important to identify those USPs of each river ecosystem, whether it is geographical or, from a floral faunal perspective or from a cultural perspective. And instead of, removing the meanders and removing the oxbows and making it a straight line is not going to be an effective way to address the water woes and the water crisis of today. And one will have to understand the ecological aspect of it. So we are right now in a dilemma. And of course, there is more power in the economy-centered development as we speak today, not just India, but across. There are people, global north countries are understanding it and moving, undoing the damages that have been done, but it's still a slow process. And I would just like to leave with one thought that, yes, Vadodara had the crocodiles and it has the Schedule 1 species, but that's something I've heard people from other river struggles tell me that you had the crocodile, so you guys, won the NGT case. But I think each river has its own uniqueness that needs to be identified. It needs to be analyzed and it needs to be built upon to protect it in its natural form so that it can continue giving or providing the ecosystem services that it provides to the human society today. With this, we end our formal presentations. And I see a lot of questions in the chat box. So, Mansi, over to you. Thank you for having us here to discuss the Vishwamitri case. And happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Neha. Thanks a lot, Dr. Shishir, Ranjinsinh ji, and Jitendra. And may I request you to please close your PowerPoint presentation so that we can have all our speakers on screen. Yes, thank you so much. We can take questions one after the other, and maybe because I was actually thrown out of Zoom, I cannot see all the questions. If you can take one from the above, I can see Arun Dixit's question. Actually, Arun Dixit ji, would you like to speak by unmuting yourself, or you want to just read our speakers to read and answer? It is to Professor Devkar.
Yeah, actually, it was a very nice presentation. All the speakers, it was a very learning experience for us. We are keep on hearing about this Vishwamitri and crocodile issues and human-wildlife conflict related issues, but then it gives a very different perspective altogether. How we have to see the whole thing. But my question was just as a curiosity kind of a thing. When we are seeing this crocodile population is increasing, do we have anything on their food items? Like what is the status of the food item? Because the kind of pollution load or other things, what is that ecology, food ecology of this thing? Is there any study?
All right.
The second question is, Doctor, it's a general question about the watershed areas we are talking about. Everyone is talking about this watershed related focus actually. So what is happening to the watershed areas? And none of the presentations give any overview of what is happening to overall watershed areas. So when we say about this riverfront area, it is basically around this Vadodara city only. So what is happening to anyone can...
Your question is well received, but I will have to interject here. and not take the whole river in discussion today because we are actually focusing on the riverfront itself. But I appreciate your question because we need to discuss the entire watershed. But probably for today's session, we should stick to the idea of how riverfront was not really made to happen and Vadodara's river was protected. Your question is very valid. So maybe we take some more questions from, sorry, but please keep that question. Maybe you come over and talk to us about the whole watershed of the river. Most welcome, as you saw.
So
Yeah.
there is this question by, I think,
Yeah.
Ali. Ali, do you want to ask?
Yeah, so my question was to the concerned citizens of Baroda, because they were worked on the riverfront. So when we are working on the riverfront, we are talking the city, but the whole when we are representing the NGT, did we represent the whole? And I see your document, but did we represent the whole area and all the rivers that are in the picture, or is it just the city area which we are talking? Because
No, so
we
for
don't
the
know what areas are with private properties and what areas are with the government, and what can be done with it. So there is no clear demarcation of anything right now. So as you mentioned, this will continue to happen till we have any demarcation.
if I can answer this really quickly.
Please go ahead.
So the NGT case was only, with the riverfront area of 500 meters on either side of the river that was identified as the riverfront development project area. So the NGT case only addressed that physical area, but our letters from concerned citizens of Vadodara have, reiterated the need of a watershed approach and to consider all the other rivers and the tributaries of the river. So that's a larger philosophical and academic argument that we had put even with the NGT, and that was reflected in the order also.
I think if Rohit Bhai is here,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. If Rohit Bhai is here, he can also highlight that this issue also came up with the Sabarmati case as well. I see Rohit is there.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Good to see you always.
yeah. So there are two major issues. One, basically I can connect the Sabarmati and Vishwamitri together. Even you will find that the issue which came up on Sabarmati riverfront issue is also, you can find many mention in various order that the situation of Sabarmati riverfront itself, the stretch inside the Sabarmati is in very bad shape. I think I'll tell people to, unfortunately, even own people don't read. So I advise people to go through at least last 3 months Google search, where you will find that what are the observation of the joint task force, like the committee which is appointed by the Gujarat High Court. So you will find our observation, what is happening with the riverfront even today, as on today, with reference to the sewage dumping. So, and even the e-flow issue, if people remember the Narmada thing, let me just take 1 minute to make a point that there is a case going on in NGT with reference to the e-flow of Narmada also. The same case is also riverfront. If you just narrow down riverfront in that sense, after Vasna barrage, the 121 kilometer downstream is the major issue of Sabarmati, and also 161 kilometer downstream of the Sardar Sarovar Dam issue. So these are the things which people can look at. There is a good debate on the issue, and I think the understanding of court is also silent on the issue. Obviously, government is always in support of them. So that is one. Second, just I want to just flag one thing with reference to which is missing in all riverfront debate is about the pollution of the river, which is very much there. Suppose if you look at the Sabarmati riverfront, there are many outfall of the sewage, and also in some places sewage mixed with some of the industries, and that comes into the riverfront, and you don't find that mentioned even in Vishwamitri. If you just look at Google search, you will find very less mention about the whole issue of sewage, and at some places industrial affluent dumping into the Vishwamitri. So I think we should also keep in mind that. And the last point which I just want to flag is that state is also ad hoc, judicial intervention is also ad hoc, but let me critique myself. We are also ad hoc. As and when we have time, we make intervention. So we also
I am going to jump in here. I am going to jump in here, Rohit Bhai, because We need to also keep track of time, but also take some interesting questions coming up. Priyanka, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Priyanka Kanhare. And Neha, if you can pull out questions from the above, because I was thrown out of Zoom, maybe
Yeah,
we can invite
there
them
was only
as well.
one question before that. So,
So after
that
Neha,
Ali, yeah. So after that, it is this.
Neha,
hi.
are you still around? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. So, I mean, the presentations were very engaging and very informative, and some of these things we don't find in any kind of Google search. So, getting it from the experts was really, really engaging. So, my question is that because I also stay in Baroda, there is this current widening of the river that has happened, and I stay in Sama near Karalibag. So that in that patch and even some of the other patches, I have seen a lot of removal of this native vegetation. So could you clarify what is this widening activity actually? Because it's completely anti to not really doing a riverfront, but to removing of all the riparian vegetation. So yeah.
Okay. Ranjinsinh, would you like to go about it? Because I see
Yeah.
you have unmuted.
So I will take half the question and the rest half will be taken by Dr. Gavali. I will not intrude into his niche. So regarding there are two things, Priyanka. Try to understand that. One is the crocodile and its breeding season, and the breeding season of other animals as well. So when the river widening started, or we call it the debris removal, they used to call it desilting. Keep the terminologies aside, but whatever activity was started, the care was taken that the breeding season was allowed to be over. Now, during that time, somewhere some birds like the red-wattled lapwing, which are ground nesters, they were nesting at that time. So the eggs were carefully lifted and they were shifted to the hatchery in the Sayaji Zoo in Vadodara. Also, the eggs during the JCB activity, whenever the locals used to, I mean, the trackers used to find that there is a nesting site over there, or possibly there can be a nesting site. The eggs of the serpents, that is the reptiles like the snakes and turtles, as well as the crocodiles, were taken and shifted to the hatchery. No crocodile eggs were found. Let me clarify. So here, the turtle eggs and the serpent, that is the snake eggs, they showed very poor hatchability, which was again covered by the Indian Express, where I had given a clarification that in the natural environment itself, the hatchability is very poor, the hatchability success rate is very poor, and the red-wattled lapwing eggs, like any other like bird eggs, they hatched wonderfully. It showed a very good hatching rate. All the individuals that hatched were kept in captivity for some time, and then they were introduced at the same place where they were collected from. So this is so far the animal part of it is concerned. Dr. Gavali, I'll tell you, Gavali will tell you about the plant part of it. Dr. Gavali, are you there?
Yeah, of course, I am here.
Yeah.
Uh, I would like to add in that, of course, what the observations of many citizens are there, like native vegetation has been removed. So desilting was only possible because of that. If you are removing the soil, definitely along with the soil, you are removing the roots and trees and plants. But believe me, after that also, like post monsoon, I have visited few places on the bank. So some of the root system which were still there into the soil and not been removed by these JCBs, they have started sprouting. Some of the seeds which are of dominant native species, they have started sprouting. Now they are growing up, and we have also asked at several places those islands which are left over within the bank or river bank or within say water itself. So the vegetation over there were not removed. The islands were kept as it is, so that we are expecting the plants from that or seeds from those islands will come on the bank and they will also establish. Similarly, some of the plantation technique was to be implemented, and that was phase two. Now, if you see what corporation has done so far, is the plantation of the trees, but they are supposed to plant shrubs and herbs also, and that will be done in this monsoon, during post monsoon, sorry, in winter, as well as in the next monsoon. So let us wait and watch that all the banks that are open now are slowly greening up with the trees and plants and shrubs and herbs, and they will be covering up more again.
Wonderful. It was also evident in the slide that you showed of making choices toward at the end of the slide. I want to
Yeah.
invite Somnath Bandyopadhyay, and sir, you are also due to speak on our platform, and it's good to have you here. Somnath ji, are you
Thank you,
still around?
Mansi.
Yes,
Thank
hi.
you.
Finally,
Hi.
you know why you are here, and you have to be on our platform soon.
Yeah, all my friends are here, so I had to.
Yes.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, wonderful. I think this conversation was very useful and very interesting. And because I live in this city now, so this is, and it also speaks to my expertise on river systems. So I was just curious that Professor Raval mentioned about alternatives to Riverfront. And I'm just speaking about the Riverfront. And we just did a project where we looked at how to uh, do the riparian restoration from a natural perspective. So this is one of the alternatives that we are talking about. And one of the examples that we can see is the biodiversity parks that are coming up in one or two areas. So I was just wondering, do we have one biodiversity park in the Vishwamitri? And if not, can we do one? And what might it take and how do we go about? So some agenda for future thinking and sort of taking this agenda forward. That was my idea.
Okay, thank you, Shishiji. Very quick response to it because it's a very plain question on do we have or do we want to? Are you still around?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Somnaji, thanks for being here. See, the idea that there could be a park for biodiversity is itself kind of skewed in my mind. Biodiversity happens because ecosystems happen. The idea that we can create a kind of a well-defined biodiversity park, the river corridor, the riparian zone itself is a biodiversity park in a more ecological or more kind of idealistic manner. As far as I know, there is no particular designated biodiversity park along Vishwamitri River, either from the foothills to the way it's near Pingalwada to another river called Dhadar. So when we think about alternatives at the time when we are working on this particular our intercession, our public intercession process, we had created an alternative based on landforms, existing vegetation, and some knowledge of where the private lands and public lands are. That is a separate discussion about how when one can create an alternative, and there are layers to this decision making of what alternative, most river-centric alternative, medium, both the sides, or just urban-centric. Urban-centric alternatives we have already seen. The river-centric alternative is what is needed to be addressed and taken on. And that is the weakness of, in my personal observation, that is the weakness of our concerned citizens of Vadodara, of which I am also a part, that we have not spent enough time on presenting viable alternatives to the government, and we have focused mainly on advocacy, and that is an important thing. I'm not denying that advocacy is not important, but however, this advocacy is more about protesting something what we do not want, and creating alternatives is about what we do want, and that is where working with the government becomes, and with the bureaucracy becomes very, very difficult, because they have their own political agenda and they do not want to address the real issues of removing the debris, giving the space back to the river in the ravines and all that. So that part is still missing, and that is what all of us in Vadodara and those interested outside Vadodara are required to work upon and present. I just have, Mansi, if you allow me, I just have one last comment about the last pre-monsoon activities that were carried out, and that is the State Human Rights Commission. My friends here who are members of that commission have reported by their observations and suggestions. May I?
Yeah, but we have to be really quick because my researchers.
One
Go
sentence,
ahead.
one or two sentences only. See, working with the government with legal tools and then working with the government with the softer advocacy tools has really damaged, at least during this monsoon, the river banks severely. There is severe erosion that has taken place. And that erosion is also damaging. And then we can talk about, okay, now let us do the repairs. So I'm not saying what was the right thing to do or wrong thing to do, but this deepening and widening project of 100 days undertaken by VMC has severely damaged not only landform, but the topsoil also. And we cannot recover topsoil just like that. Nature is benevolent, it grows trees and vegetation, but that is not what we are we should have been protesting about, this kind of intervention of 100 day in a hurry just to show the public that see now we have stopped the floods in Vadodara.
Okay. These actually interactions or conversations, as you may call it, are endless, and we keep our conversations flowing. That's the very idea at W4W, especially Wednesdays for Water, when we bring in thinking minds, I must say, and concerned citizens who talk about water issues. And actually, it was a very humble submission by the team that we have not done enough, but I feel that the entire country has to take example from Vadodara riverfront to ensure what kind of riverfront can be. And I also agree with Dr. Shishir that there is an alternate required, but it reminds me of a session with Medha Tai or Medha Patkar when she said Satyagraha is also unveiling the untruth while you are fighting for the truth. So I think it is a good idea to even have an idea what we don't want, even if we do not have a clear idea what we want. So, I mean, let us keep it in that positive note. And by the way, Rohit Bhai is here. Rohit Bhai, we are strongly wanting to have a session on the Sabarmati riverfront, hopefully sometime soon. And I would like to invite you for that. But we also have very wonderful people here who would like to be speakers on our platform. If you like to be speakers, do write to us at w4w@gmail.com. But meanwhile, before I let you go, I would like to announce a wonderful session we are having on Friday Water's book reading session on October 17, which is just day after at 5 p.m. IST. We are talking about reading a book on rivers, cities, and people, social challenges of urban waterfront development in Asia. So we are looking at different examples across Asia. And we have wonderful speakers to talk about it, Marche Bernard and Manashri Banerjee. Next week, we are not doing Wednesdays for Water, but the week after, we are having Wednesdays for Water on October 29 at 5 p.m. IST. And it is going to be a very interesting conversation where River is going to talk to rest of the India. And I am going to play the role of River, and the rest of India will be actually represented by Shrishti Vajpayee. That's on 29th October at 5 p.m. IST. Next week, we also have Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water just before Diwali on October 28th, when we actually honor the great Ghazala Paul from Summit, and she's going to talk about her life journey. Before I close, Diwali greetings to all of you, but I also wish to really request all of you not to pollute the air, not to pollute the water, not to pollute the soil, so that we can also not pollute each of our relationships. Do stay tuned with W4W at www.w4w.in. All our information are there. We are inching towards 400 sessions, and we really want to respect all our speakers so far, more than 600 of them, and over 10,000 people who have attended our sessions. We want to have a deep gratitude, send a deep gratitude to them to really believe in us, making us one of the longest water conversations ever taken place in the history of India and probably in the world very soon. Thanks all of you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shishir Raval, Dr. Ranjinsinh Devkar, Dr. Jitendra Gavali, and my dear Neha Sarwate, Dr. Neha Sarwate.
Thank you so much
for organizing this session. Please take care. Do stay tuned. We are having Jammu and Kashmir Riverfront, Nagpur Riverfront, and Ahmedabad Riverfront tuning very soon, and information will be with you very soon. Thanks a lot. Please take care and keep flowing. Bye-bye.